It's obvious when it comes to Azaria if she is more of a writer or a reader. Homegirl is a writer. I have always been a writer, but I just really love reading. I would say like my ratio is like 55 reader, 45 writer. Sometimes even 60-40, 75-25. Reading is so important and ingrained in me. I love writing. Azaria and I talk about this all the time. That first draft, I am the greatest writer of all time, but then after, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm a reader and a writer, published author, and I present myself online on social media as both because I fucking want to. I started, okay, this like Wendy's fucking thingy. I need whatever. I started on social media as a bookstagrammer in 2021, and I mean that was cool, fine. I read books, I reviewed them, I did a star rating, and I tagged the author. I never posted about a book that I rated less than 3 stars. But for the majority, the authors who got like 4 and above were like, oh my God, thanks girl. I respect the 3-star. Okay, I'm gonna just be the Black Wendy's today because these braids have minds of their own. Anyway, and then in November 2022, I told my Instagram, Bookstagram, that I'm a writer and I'm coming out with my debut novel the following year. So I started like doing writing content, which I actually don't think I did. I think it was still a majority of books, maybe some sprinkle of writing content, and like where I would be at as a published author trying to promote my book. So that was a lot of like the writing aspect. Somewhere along the line, I joined TikTok, and then that's when all hell broke loose personally. In June 2023, that was the last time I tagged an author in my review with the star rating, and that book was The Blame Game by Sandy Jones, and I rated it 4 stars for her to see. Whenever I joined Threads, which was not long ago, but that's when I noticed authors being like, do not tag me in reviews, whether it's nice or not. And I was like, huh. And then I was like, or not, why would they tag you in a review that's not? And then I would see authors be like, do not blow up my DMs telling me about what you hate about my book. And I'm like, what? People will do that? I don't know. But long before I saw that on Threads, I already stopped leaving star reviews. I would still be like, oh my God, I read your book and I loved it. And some authors would be like, thanks for reading. And I'm like, we're friends. But yeah, when I joined Threads, which was honestly the greatest mistake I have ever made, I learned a lot about authors and their social media and what they get on their social media. I thought it was just a beautiful little community where we all just love our books, and apparently it's not. I learned that a lot this year. A book community is not, my rose-colored glasses cracked this year because all I've ever wanted to do is read books and talk about them, and apparently other people want other things. And then pretty much the last book I have ever posted outside of like my podcast episodes was How to End a Love Story, which was like my book of 2024. I don't know what happened, probably just like writing. And so like there's just whatever with everything. Like Bookstagram, they're like post every day, all the days, da da da. I ain't got time for that. And then Writergram, they're like post every day, all the things. I don't have time for that either. But I think this was also when TikTok came around and I like fell in love with like voiceovers or just like ranting about the life. And I think that really came into play. So I started my Bookstagram in 2021, and then September of 2021 I started my podcast. I just read this book, the podcast. And the way I read a book and like talk about it, and sometimes maybe relate it to real life. I know reading is supposed to be an escape, but I'm also like the main character, so I'm like, how would I have reacted? And at first it was just like books and readers, and it was once a month. And then Christina Lauren was like my first author guest, which was amazing and scary and the best thing ever. And now, because there's so many books and so little time with me meeting readers and or authors that I want to talk about their books with, I just read this book. The podcast is now on every other Thursday, so like 2 to 3 times a month, and sometimes still with like bonus episodes. So yeah, like personally, I've always used my platform just like for fun and positivity, and you could not have paid me enough that there was any sort of ever negativity within this space, because that's just not the vibe that I carry. But there is, and I have learned how some of it is warranted. I will admit, like this Elsie Silver BS, I'm like, bitch, have you lost your goddamn mind? And like, what pisses me off about that is like, okay, it was an art copy. So like, I just can't, I can't imagine writing about someone's skin color and calling it dirty. And maybe it's because I'm a Black woman, but that is just not something that you do. And I have been thinking about like the white equivalent, and I'm not going to say it because I'm a good person, but like, so Elsie Silver, no mas. And then, as we all know, J.K. Rowling is a douchebag. I don't know a lot of book drama because, you know, this is like my happy place, people. But when it starts, it is very, very, very interesting to navigate through. I don't know. I know there's author drama a lot just because they're ignorant and say stupid ass things. But when it comes to book drama, I feel like it's usually within the conventions. At least that's what I've seen this year. A monotony of controversies when it comes to conventions, which is really interesting and sad. I was about to say, thank God I wasn't a part of them. Yeah, I got scammed in December for a December event. I have like 3 or 4 events next year, and I know that only one of them is legit. Almost 2, but so yeah, as an author and a reader on social media, as one person, you know, I just try to keep it as genuine as possible, mainly when it comes to being a reader. In my unpopular opinion, I do not, unless it is something that I have been invited to, like, Taylor, come to this as an author and let's talk. Then outside of that, I feel like any sort of post or media is none of my business. I'm also not that out in the world, so I don't know. I literally was talking to friends of mine and I was like, I do not want that level of success where people are all up in your grill, have so many opinions that I'm supposed to take into account for myself and my writing. Like, what do you mean? I just feel like there's just too many cooks. It used to just be writer and reader. And now I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not the same. You can't just get a book and read it. You have to get it and dissect it and demand things. And I'm like, what is happening? No, I will admit, I'm not demanding book 2 of Blood Moon, but no, I'm not. Like, Brittany was on social and did something that's in book 2, and I simply commented and I said, girl, you can't do this to me when I don't have book 2 and 3. Like, was that? I don't know. But she was really nice about it, which I wasn't surprised. She's so sweet. I'm obsessed with her. Never met her. I just jumped on the train of the internet. I usually don't get into internet famous books, but I saw like the Twilight black version and I was like, yes. Oh my God, I love Blood Moon. So yeah, now my social media is, I would say it's mainly garnered towards writing. I try to be a part of the trends sometimes, usually late. I still go to like author events that I'm not attending, because you can't be a writer and not a reader. So I still go to those and post all about those. I love my TikToks. I love my voiceovers. I love my rants. And yeah, I'll show you where I am within either the community or the country because I just got back. Well, I didn't just get back, but the last place I went as an attending author was California, and that was awesome. And then I almost got to go to California again, but I can't. But it had so many of my favorites. I think Denise Williams is there, and I'm trying to get on that, but I couldn't. I can't make it. So I guess what I'm trying to reiterate, that word, is that be kind. I'm all about quote unquote exposing people and hoping that they are accountable for their actions. Elsie Silver is not. But it comes back to that bullying thing I think I talked about a few episodes ago. Like, if you get a hold of the controversy and you're like, oh man, that's messed up. And then you go to that person who's a part of the controversy and you're like, you suck with the rest of the 10,000 people. Then I just feel like that's the time to take a step back, like, I don't know, maybe. And then I'm also like, if 10,000 people have already said something and that controversy person still hasn't said anything, like, I don't know. I'm just not about it. I said my little 2 cents about Elsie Silver. I said, that has me mad as fuck, or something like that. She don't care about us, y'all. Like, I don't know. What do we expect to get out of these things? I guess accountability, but we also have to remember who or what we're talking to. So as a writer and a reader, I pretty much love social media because I'm so cute and fun. But when it comes to like having to post, like I said, where they're like, post multiple times a day, yada, yada, boring. Yeah, boring. And my friend's PA was like, yes, you need to be more annoying posting on social media. And she was like, oh my God. And she was like, the PA was like, the people who follow you might be annoyed, but the people who don't follow you won't be because they don't follow you. So the more they see you, which I understand, but You also, when I'm doing the social media of life, I have to keep a very good hold on my mental health, a very good awareness of my mental health, because I have to love it. If I'm not loving it, I feel like it shows, and this, that, and the other. But yeah, yeah, I just have to. That's why I like trends and TikTok, because like it's fun and hee hee ha ha. But like, so what did we learn? Being on social media as a reader, as a writer for Taylor, I will admit, I think the only way I could possibly get into trouble is on my podcast. I just read this book, The Podcast, when it's just reader to reader, like me and another person. And like, yeah, we just talk about the book. And I don't know. Something happened. This is just how I feel. Something happened recently where I reviewed this person's book and I saw that they like creeped on certain socials, because certain socials will be like, so and so just saw your profile. So, but they didn't like engage at all. So I was like, ooh, I wonder if they're upset based off of what I said. But like when I'm reviewing these books, I am always, always, always talking about the characters. So, but then again, as a writer, I guess you're like, oh, you didn't like my characters when or man. I don't know. Because like you want the tension, you want people to have opinions. I don't know, people. But the moral of the story, if I saw a podcast and it was like reviewing Better Luck Next Time by Taylor J. Bridgeforth without Taylor J. Bridgeforth, I would keep on moving.